How's it going, everybody? This is MetaTrixx, and welcome back to yet another discussion video. And just in case no one let you know today, buddy, you look incredible. You just do. So I was going through my YouTube comments and I saw somebody say something that was rather bold, extremely bold even, and that was, there is no such thing as low tier characters, only bad players. This is a pretty hot take, I will say. And so we're going to be taking a look at this statement from an objective standpoint, but I also have a pretty strong opinion on the matter as well. And so essentially the claim is that any character can be top tier if you're willing to put in enough work. Is that actually the truth though? Is it actually possible to win in a fighting game with literally any character at the absolute highest level of competition? And I will say that there's no stranger to having absolute Neanderthals in my YouTube comments, but I wanted to take a look at this and also get your guys' opinion on it as well. So first things first, what does it actually mean to be a low tier character? Well, if we take a look at the statistics, essentially what it means is that you or your character have less tools or lesser tools than the opponent does just by simply existing. And this can be seen on a pretty nuanced level as far as damage output or overall combo potential, but even one of the more glaring weaknesses in a low tier versus a top tier character can even just be the ability to move your character in space. Is the character slow and clunky and has a lot of startup frames on their attacks, or are they lightning fast and can move around with ease? And you might be thinking to yourself, well, typically when a character is very slow and clunky, they are balanced by being extremely strong. But here's the problem. A character is only balanced in a vacuum. They themselves are slow and clunky, so they themselves are very strong. But if you put them against a character that has unbelievable range or crazy combos or speed, all of a sudden the disadvantages are extremely clear. And as you add more and more characters to a game, the gap becomes wider and even more obvious. I'll say, for example, when Bayonetta got introduced to Smash 4. Before Bayonetta's inclusion into Smash 4, there was a good handful of characters that were considered to be high tier or top tier. Characters like Diddy Kong, Pikachu, ZSS, or even Rosalina Luma, which sounds pretty insane to say in 2024. And with the strength of these characters, of course, there were lower tier characters like Donkey Kong or Bowser Jr. or any of these lower tier characters, and it was a decent gap. But then this happened. This character joined the battle, and all of a sudden, the glaring weaknesses that were the mid and low tiers were devastating. When Bayonetta joined Smash 4, every single local, major, and super major became flooded with Bayo mains. It did not matter where you went or what you did, if you didn't know how to fight this character, you had zero chance in making it far in bracket. And so this begs the question then, if there's no such thing as high tier or low tier characters, then why did everybody want to play as Bayonetta? Is it because the average Smash player is unbelievably horny and they just want to look at her scrumptious cheeks while also clapping their opponent? Or was there something else going on with this character? Was it possibly the ability to kill your opponent from literally anywhere at all off of any stray hit in any given moment? Or maybe it was the beloved witch time. It was the ability to just get out of any combo, reverse it and say, no you, now it's time for you to die instead. Or possibly it was Bat Within, the only frame 1 air dodge in the game. She had attributes besides the booty that so many other characters could only dream of actually having. She had some of the most blessed hitboxes, the best recovery, the best combo game, and even had a projectile and a free win condition if you happen to land witch time. The counter argument to Bayonetta's existence for many players was, why don't you just be better? If you're just better, then you can win. This character is not even that good. All you have to do is just be a better player. But that's exactly it. If you give a top tier character and a low tier character to two players who have the exact same skill level, there's going to be a very obvious outcome. Of course, there's the potential of having luck on the side of the low tier or a mistake being made on the side of the high tier, but more often than not, the top tier character is going to win simply off of game design alone. Nothing to do with the player's skill. If one character requires twice as much, if not 3 times more skill to get an equal outcome, would that not mean that that character is inherently worse? And on the contrary, if a top tier character has an extremely high skill ceiling, this means that this character, even at a mid level, can output a similar performance to an optimized low tier. Which means that if two characters, one of which has minimal tools versus one that has godlike tools, if they both become optimized, one of them, the top tier character, will in fact become unbeatable or even untouchable. And so far up until this point, we've talked about characters and their tools in a vacuum. What happens when you have this particular character stacked up against multiple different characters. How many characters in a roster does this one character actually beat? If your character happens to lose to half of the characters, but also happens to beat half the characters in a roster, then your character is considered mid-level. And if based on your character's tools such as movement speed, frame data, disadvantage, recovery, or whatever it might be, if your character happens to be in a disadvantage against most, if not every single character in the game, then of course you have to just label that character as low tier. So I'll say right now, just because a character is low tier, that does not mean for a single second that they can't win. That's not what this means at all. What it means is that the amount of effort and the amount of skill and patience and precision needed by your character is astronomical compared to what your opponent has to do to try to accomplish the exact same thing. And so without a doubt, there are definitely characters that will aid players even at the top level in winning and make their time winning so much easier than their opponent. Does this mean that there are some top players who maybe shouldn't be top players or possibly are getting easier wins than they should be? There's always that possibility. But on the flip side, there are also very high level players who play low tier characters and they are being absolutely held back by their character. And if they switch to a top tier, they might become unstoppable. There 1000% are low tier mains out there who are absolute gods at fighting games, but they are in fact being hindered by, unfortunately, low tier characters. They have this magical ability to make low tier characters look so amazing and so good and so broken, but nobody stops to think about the fact that maybe it's just the player. Maybe the player is just a fucking god. And so I guess my question to you guys is this. If there's no such thing as high tier, low tier, top tier, whatever tier you want to say, trash tier characters, if these things don't exist, why do we see time and time again so many top players gravitating towards the same types of characters? Why is it that so many players find themselves only fighting in the Ditto or only having to worry about the top 20% of characters in a game? If low tiers and top tiers didn't exist and having the urge to win was not so prevalent, then how do we have stale metas where everyone ends up playing the same character? If anybody can win with any character, how do we have it happen time and time again where we find ourselves watching Steve Dittos or Bayonetta Dittos or Sonic Dittos or Brawl Meta Knight Dittos? If this was not true, if there was no such thing as low tier characters, there would absolutely not be certain characters in video games that a lot, if not most people actually avoid playing at a competitive level. Now don't get me wrong, there's definitely a possibility that top players can make characters top tier and put them on the map. However, when MKLeo was playing as Ike, nobody thought that Ike was top tier. And when MKLeo was playing as Byleth, the same thing happened. Nobody thought that Byleth was top tier. And even though MKLeo has results with both of these characters, it still did not make them top tier. There's something inherent about the characters' designs that still kept them in that high or mid tier. Because if that wasn't the case, then MKLeo, for example, could play any character in the game and automatically make them top tier because he is so good. Because if top tier was simply an opinion, that means that he could take a character like Duck Hunt and win a super major and put the character on the map as the best character in the game. But we know that's not how it works. And on another note, it seems awfully convenient that if you ever happen to lose to a character who happens to be better than your character according to you, then of course that character is top tier, and of course it's bullshit, and of course they're broken, and of course it's not fair. But in the event that you happen to play a top tier, and you happen to be quite good, then you will often sway in the direction of saying that you are just a god at the game and has nothing to do with the character. It seems to be awfully convenient. And so guys, let me know your thoughts below. Do you guys think there is such a thing as a top tier or a low tier, or was this guy actually spitting facts? Once again, this is Trixx from Meta Smash saying thanks for watching.